Boys, how's it going? We're back for part 3 of my EP track breakdown series. So today we're looking at the third track, Heartbreak, which is also my favorite track from the EP. I'm really excited to get into this. For this one, we're going to focus on arrangement and the turnarounds or the transitions. I think that's kind of like the key factor for this track. I worked on this one with my friend Chase. If you haven't heard of Chase, go check him out. Go give him a follow. He's got some heat on the way. But yeah, man, working on this song with him was a dream. It was so fun. Like, we've been meaning to collab for a while, and it turned out better than I could have expected. So really happy with everything, and if this shit ever fucking loads, we'll get into the video. That is a beefy project, but let's go ahead and play it from the build. And we'll get into the selecta part, probably my favorite transitions right here. And then also Chase's drop. First things first, kind of got to set a foundation. So let's go over the groups at least, layer by layer for the drop. So here's the drums. Yeah, so really punchy kick there, a cute little snare. So we're just alternating fills, we're kind of alternating hat loops. I have this one ride that's going between the ears, right to left, creating some width. This cool dyadic one that comes in after a while. Got some really nice low frequencies there. Some cool like bongo fills. And yeah, that's the drums. Pretty simple, right? So that's just the rhythm right there. So looking now in the sidechain group, I've kind of labeled A, B, A, C, yada, yada, the different sections for the arrangement, what I want to talk about for this drop. So if we look here, we start off with A, and then B is the response to that. And then A repeats again. And now C is different. It's not B, so we're not repeating. We're not going A, B, and B. Now it's going to be something different here. Then A is very similar to the first A, kind of adding a few things to the A. So you could probably hear that bass layer. The B is pretty similar. Honestly, this is probably also BB. It has a bit of a variation as well. And then no C. Now we have this D, which is just a big turnaround, which goes into the switch part. So that's going to be working together with both the drums and the vocals. Let's break it down. So for the A section, what makes the A section, I guess, is this donk sound. Some reverb throws on it. So that's kind of our call. And then the response to that is the sub just going low to the D. So with the sub. So that is, it's going A sharp, and then down to D. And then another thing is like these chug basses for the response part. Then we're going A again. And then the C, we got the rave stab sound. Then for this AA, bit of a variation. It's this layer. Slowly but surely, you keep adding layers and taking away other layers type stuff. So, very BB, very similar to the first B, and then D is pretty much completely different. And then once you get to E, this is basically going to repeat, but the vocals are going to change. So that's 8 bars, this is 8 bars, and the selecta part right here is a completely different flow. But yeah, working together with the sidechain is going to be obviously the vocals. So we have our, and then we're freezing the, just going to keep repeating. Just had a bunch of like overdrive and distortion processing, but had to freeze it when I send it to Chase. That happens for the first 8 bars, and that's going to be working together with this, with the pop it like chant. And second 8 bars, instead of the, we're going to be saying heartbreak pretty much. So let's play this. And then, you know, similarly, I don't have these labeled, but similarly, like this would be the C part. So that's going to have some new vocals in it. Let's listen to that as a whole. Now you kind of know all the layers. Kind of paying attention to the A, B, A, C here. So yeah, that's kind of like the arrangement that I was going for. This A, B, A, C pretty much, with different variations of that depending on, you know, where you are in the drop. So then that's like 8 bars of that. Then it's very similar 8 bars of that, with the difference being that instead of we're using a different part of the vocal. Remember this part now? That and a few other minor differences for the second 8 bars. And then for the D section this time, I guess you would call it A. So for the D section, when it happens again, it's different again from this D. So it's like another different turnaround. And this is probably my favorite transition in the song because of these vocals. I think they're so nice.
Yeah, selector. Yes.
And that moves with like a sub drop, this thing.
Yeah, selector. Yes.
And then with this bass that I'm using for the switch up part.
Yeah, selector. Yes.
That and also the snare roll we got going on here. Play the drums. I'll just play out that switch up for a second so you get in context. And then we're out. So that sick dyadic bass, doing some reverb throws, you know, sport rack, nothing crazy. The sample originally sounds like this, but I pitched it down, also down 10 cents. So in these gaps, you could really hear that reverb throw if I turn this off. And then if we look at it and turn it back on. Pretty cool. The last hit there is just stretched it to oblivion. Had some really cool tonalities there. But that's kind of the arrangement. So it seems complex, but really let's think of it like you're doing A, B, A, C, and then every time you kind of copy and paste that, you change it up a little bit. So the A becomes AA, the B becomes BB. You know what I mean? So all that second letter means is the same structure, but just a few variations. And then for that final turnaround, that's twice as long as any other section. That's new pretty much every time. Yeah, I guess I could talk a little bit about how to do these turnarounds. Something that's helpful is to do like an impact. Do an impact, introduce some kind of new element, and a sub drop for sure. So that with like, I have some break drums here, fading in, and then like the snare rolls as well. And then that with, I don't know, you don't have to use vocals, but I love using vocals. So some kind of vocal. So I have this DJ one here. And then, you know, at the very end of the phrase, some kind of a fill. Let's see what I used here. Just a little record scratch thing. So yeah, altogether that sounds like that. And then play this E one more time. It's a very similar concept, you know, 2 bars. I I think what makes this transition really good for this switch up part is I'm using the same new drop bass, like the new drop sound. This. I'm starting to tease that here with a bit of reverb and a bit of a shifter, kind of turning it into a riser. And so this sound is already introduced to our ears before we actually get here. So you kind of, I don't know, it's a good way to indicate the switch and what's coming next. Yeah, that'll happen for 8 bars, and then we get out to this kind of a outro section. Some beautiful chords that Chase wrote. Really nice reese I made, really boosting these muddy frequencies. I mean, I usually would never do this, but I wanted that kind of, that growl, that roar. And then, so what Chase did for the second drop is quite similar to my drop, but he added this really sick, it was that that donk, so this. Took the donk and he kind of processed it and turned into a little melody, which we'll hear here in the drop. So I'll just play it from the build. Sick. Yeah, so it's largely following the same kind of ABAC thing I was doing. You know, he has some new sounds in these sections. This part gets a little more intense. Little glitch there. And then here, completely new part. Play that. So this transition, this turnaround is also pretty cool. So we got like a lot of the same stuff, but just making variations on it. So like the sub drop. This time, instead of using a new vocal, I'm just kind of like glitching out this pop it one. So we got a delay on it, telephone vocal, and auto pan to just kind of fade it out. Yeah, while that's happening, we're glitching in this little like turnaround thing, as well as these sounds. Everything's getting reverbed out. You know, we got some like atmospheres, and then, you know, like a little bit of a snare build here. Drums, play that. Very simple. Kind of letting the atmospheres take over for this transition. So now you've heard all the layers. Let's listen to it. One thing I forgot to mention is like the synths that we're about to do. So that's kind of being faded in. A bit of an auto filter. So yeah, these synths go on for 16 bars, I think. You got to listen to the song to hear, you know, this beautiful progression. Yeah, so this part is 16 bars. This part is 16 bars. So we're already at a 32 bar drop, but decided go for one final 8 bar switch up here. All the energy, one more turnaround, one more completely new section. So let's see how that sounds like. big difference here is for the first time in the whole song, we're doing, I guess you would call these halftime drums instead of the breakbeat stuff. So that's that part. Then for this final part, he added this like tonal ass snare layer. So cool. Yeah, so we got some like fat rides. It's the same sounds for the drop, but just in a new rhythm. And then this fill, which is so sick. It's like, again, stretching out some of the basses. But yeah, that's that final part. And, you know, same thing. Here's that 2-bar transition. Reverb, you know, some vocals. Like I said, this is probably my favorite song from the EP. So go stream this one. Really proud of this one, actually. And like I said, it was great working with Chase on this. Go show him some love. Here's a little section that didn't make it if you wanna, if you care. I mean, that's pretty sick too, but the drop was just getting too long, so we cut that out. But maybe this will be for the VIP one day. Who knows? I hope you learned something about the arrangement and transitions. You know, utilizing some of these transitions really helps keep the energy going. It's a lot of work, but I think it's worth it in the end. So hope you learned something, and we'll see you in the next one.
Mash it up, no!